Yo, what's up, Mo?
Justin, how's it going? This is not going to be a sort of a catfish situation, unlike Paul George.
I think we could just segue right into that topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Catfishing. Do you think the Pacers are catfishing us right now? Like, we thought they were one thing, and then they were actually another thing?
Oh, well
like,
done.
totally
Good segue.
fraudulent, misleading.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that a couple things probably happened.
Well, let me just start it
Okay,
off here,
sure.
okay? So if you guys have not been paying attention, the Pacers have been playing like garbage lately.
Garbage.
And yesterday, they were losing to the Hawks, who the Hawks have been somewhat tanking.
Garbage. They're not trying.
they're-
Danny Ferry said, we don't really care.
Yeah, they're backtracking into the playoffs. They're, backpedaling into the playoffs. And, the Knicks might... No, I don't think the Knicks are going to make it. But the fact that the Knicks even can make it shows you how poor the Hawks have been playing. The Hawks are at one point, I think, like 30 points against the Pacers. I think it was like the second quarter, and the Pacers had scored like 21 points.
Yeah.
And then they lost to the Hawks by like 20. So it was a rout. It was like the Knicks playing the Lakers or something.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like, where does this put the Pacers?
I mean, first off, I think one of the major issues is that I think that maybe we all anointed Paul George a little bit too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, he's a really exciting player. Anytime there's a player that comes into the game and who's able to do all the things that make you excited, has athleticism, has a good shot, is aggressive, plays good defense, Paul George was looking like he was making that kind of ascension at the beginning of the year because his numbers were ridiculous. Now it seems like we might have been jumping the gun a little bit. That the Pacers, while they're still, a really good team, you got to think that they're still really young,
Okay.
That realistically their most proven veteran on their team is David West.
Yeah.
Right? And David West is a good, power forward, but he's by no means the quintessential power forward. He's not the guy you look for to be the guy on your team. I'm sure his leadership role will be good, but we're not in the locker room. We don't know. But I know that if Roy Hibbert is getting benched in a game where he's facing Antich, whatever the guy,
Antich, Antich, yeah,
and Millsap, that's no good. He should be able to handle these guys with ease. And these are guys that, I mean, in theory, the Pacers could face the Hawks in the first round of the playoffs. And you're saying that, these guys are someone that's going to be able to outplay, out-hustle, outboard someone like Hibbert? That shouldn't be. Not on the way the Pacers have looked this year.
I'll just add this point. The Hibbert this year's been playing like garbage.
Yeah.
His shooting percentages have gone up a little, but he's still shooting 45%, which is okay. I think if you're that size, you should shoot 50.
Yeah, you should shoot more than 45.
Especially if he's as good as some people think he is, he should shoot 50%.
Yeah.
I remember his stats. His stats are like 11.2 points and 6.8 rebounds a game, which are worse than Jonas Valanciunas. Right?
Okay.
Jonas is averaging, I think, like 12, 13 points and like 8.5 rebounds on like 56% shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonas is a second-year player.
Yeah.
Right? Jonas is 21. There's still a lot of holes in his game. Yeah, he's got better numbers on a third team in the East. Third or fourth team,
Hibbert's
right?
getting paid the max now,
and,
too,
and,
right?
and Hibbert is getting, and Hibbert is supposed to be a top 5 center, undoubtedly, right? Mm-hmm. He probably still is, but I don't know. Lately, maybe he's not a top 5 center.
Yeah, you might have answered your own question.
Yeah,
Valanciunas at this point is putting up better numbers than Hibbert.
We know Drummond's putting up better numbers.
Yeah.
We know that somebody like, I'm sure JaVale McGee will put up better numbers.
Right.
Right? Now, I'm not sure JaVale McGee's for sure better than Hibbert, but like, would I take Nikola Vucevic over him at this point? I think about it. I definitely think about it.
I don't know about that.
6.8 rebounds.
Yeah, I know.
That's Brook Lopez numbers, right? But Brook Lopez gives you 20 points.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
He has no offensive game.
Yeah, so he's not better than Brook Lopez.
No,
he's not better than DeMarcus Cousins. He's not better than Noah. No way. He's not better than Marc Gasol. So that's like 4. Like, he's not better than Dwight for sure.
Yeah.
So that's like, he's out of the top 5. So
Yeah, you just
outside,
immediately eliminated him.
so
There's
outside
no
of the
chance.
top 5, like, is he better than Robin Lopez? I would say he
Yes,
is.
he's better than Rob Lopez.
Is he better than Jonas Valanciunas? Right now, I would say he is, even
Yes.
though his numbers are not that good. But your numbers are comparable, and he's not as young as some of these guys. Well, what is he? 24, 23,
I think he's
24,
Hibbert's gonna be
25.
a little bit older.
Yeah. So
Because he just re-signed. He just got the. He just finished
Right.
his rookie contract.
exactly.
That
So
max
so
deal, right?
so my point is that he might have like hit his ceiling more or less.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's any excuse to. You should build off the year you had before, and especially the start the Pacers are having.
Right.
Your progression should continue, and it looks like he's plateaued or regressed.
Right. Well, that's especially what I'm saying. If he can't play, I mean, like Paul Millsap is he's an all right power forward, and Teach is a stretch power forward. These are guys masquerading as centers,
Right.
On the Hawks, who really have no center currently. They're
Right.
using these two guys, both probably stretch power forwards,
Yeah.
and Hibbert had nothing. He had nothing for these guys. Right, and these are matchups that he should be taking advantage of. Right, I get maybe it's more of a stretch game for him, and that's a tougher matchup.
So do you think that he's the reason why the Pacers have been struggling, or just one of the many?
No, one of the many. I think that there are so many. I think that Hibbert is a good place because it's an easy spot, because he comes off sort of like a malcontent sort of style player. That's just maybe the impression that I get about Hibbert.
I feel like Hibbert, he really shows up for the big games, and in all the other games, he is kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
As long as I do some vertical stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as I
Block a couple shots.
Yeah, which he isn't even blocking that many shots.
Yeah.
So
not
like
this
this, you look at his stats, they're really disappointing in my opinion.
Yeah.
11-6 is a lot of people can average 11-6.
year. Right.
You put a lot of guys on the Pacers right now, tell them to play hard defense and be big. A lot of guys can do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just think that there are a lot of guys in the league who can do that.
I don't think he's the one to blame for their
Right.
problems. I feel like it's a little bit Hibbert. It's somewhat that the Danny Granger trade has not really. You don't want to say
Right.
it didn't work out, but like they thought they were getting a little bit more with Evan Turner, maybe.
He's been garbage.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
He's been terrible.
And maybe it's that he just hasn't, we haven't seen him really reach his full potential from Frank Vogel's coaching or the chemistry on the
Right.
team.
Or I think that it's just such a bad situation that everybody would be playing poorly.
Yeah,
Because Lance doesn't have that spark anymore.
Right.
He's still playing hard, but we saw him against the Raptors. He made some boneheaded decisions.
Yep.
He's doing that.
Yeah, he's that style
That's
player.
the bad
He's like-
Lance. That's
yeah.
the bad Lance that you
Mhm.
get sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah, Paul George, to me, has I saw this a month ago, where he to me mentally hit the wall. Now I'm sure there's some
Right.
stuff with the personal life going on,
Mhm.
but he doesn't seem like a guy who can really you can run your offense through the entire season.
Well, not
Right?
not now.
Not
I'm
now.
sure at the beginning of the season,
Yeah, but-
we would have said otherwise, right?
But the point is, because it's a whole season, right? Now we can say he can't, because it's been almost the whole
Right.
season. Doing it for a playoff series is one thing, that's matchups, but doing an entire season and years after years, we know, as bad as the Knicks were, you can run an offense through Melo.
100%.
You know that. You can run an offense through Durant, LeBron, etc., etc. Even Blake Griffin has shown, more or less, you can give him the ball now.
Yeah, he's taken the steps this year for sure.
Right. So, I don't know. The Pacers, I think there's a bunch of everything. I think that David West doesn't look the same. I think Luis Scola has underperformed. And that trade was supposed to be, by the way, they traded Plumlee away
Yeah.
and Gerald Green.
Yeah.
Right? So that's looking, just based on how the Suns are playing,
Yeah.
it's looking like, I'm pretty sure they could use a Gerald Green. I don't know why he didn't pan out in Indiana. It seemed like it could have. But I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Right.
And it seems like Bynum has played one game
Yeah,
or two
exactly.
games, and he can't play no more.
Yeah.
Not that I was expecting much from him, but
No,
I was
but
expecting
you-
more
but
from
you-
Evan Turner.
Yeah, you would have thought that
so
those two acquisitions would be something like, if you're already a playoff-bound young team, what are a couple good assets that you can go after and get? Well, a really young shooting guard who is likely playing for a contract, who wants to, go out and put up good numbers, boom. You think that this guy is going to be good. Not playing well. Bynum, does he have something to prove after how, he had a total black mark of a non-existent season last year after being traded.
Right.
And now this year, the
In
Cleveland drama,
yeah.
You would have thought he would have come out.
Did you hear about how he was shooting the ball from everywhere? From anytime he got the ball. So this is the rumor that, anytime, this is before, he got suspended.
Right.
Mike Brown's this guy's done, right? And they traded him for Dang, right?
Yeah.
So apparently he was just so frustrated about not getting the ball enough that whenever he touched the ball, he would just shoot it. From anywhere in the court in practice. Just as a very sarcastic way to say,
yeah,
all right, I guess this is the way I gotta get my shots.
I'll take my shot. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah,
that makes me laugh. That's Bynum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of Bynum with an afro when I think of that.
Yeah, I do too. I think of him bowling. I think of him being injured and still being cool with going bowling. How's the rehab going? Great, I'm going bowling.
My point is that the Pacers, their moves have not worked out the way they should. I thought Scola would be great. I know he's 33 or whatever, 34, but that guy can play off the bench. It's a perfect role for him, right? He's an offensive guy. I don't know. He hasn't panned out.
No.
Evan Turner hasn't panned out. This guy was a number 2 pick.
Yeah.
And he's always been a little overrated to me. I look at him and DeMar DeRozan and now I'm just like, yeah, DeMar's better than him.
Yeah, for sure.
And
you can say that.
I don't think that highly of DeMar DeRozan.
No.
So Evan Turner getting his numbers in Philadelphia really doesn't mean anything now.
No.
So I don't know if the Danny Granger situation. I'm sure I know him and Paul George were close. I know he was pretty. He was the man, and now he's kind of a role player. But everybody liked him. And then I don't think it's Bynum at all. I think that it's Stevenson Turner situation where I think the Pacers were maybe thinking, hey, if we lose Stevenson or Stevenson, gets overpaid by some guy,
then
some other team, we'll have Turner.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that didn't work out the way they wanted it to. Scola to me hasn't worked out the way they've wanted to. George Hill hasn't really worked out because he's more of a shooting guard.
Yeah.
And Paul George and Hibbert, their main guys, have, struggled.
Yeah.
David West isn't the same either. David West was a guy you could give the ball in the block to, and he'll give you something. Mm-hmm. Not every time, but he was really solid. He's a really solid power forward. So the whole team just doesn't look good at all. The problem is they've always turned the ball over a lot because they don't have a point guard. They don't have this system they rely on offense. They look worse now than they did before.
Yeah.
How does this team beat the Heat? They don't. There's no way, right? I could see them losing 4-1 the way they're playing. 4 they're swept even. If you turn the ball over against the Heat, that's an automatic 2 points.
Of course.
So I don't know, man.
What do you think? Do you feel like they have? What are their long-term prospects? Is this now doom and gloom for the Pacers in the future?
Well, here's the thing. I think that if you play well in the playoffs, all is forgiven, right?
Of course.
If they go to the conference finals, and then let's say they lose to the Heat, I think you've met expectations.
Of course.
You've met expectations.
No. But
do I think changes will come? Yes.
Yeah, but
I think so.
Let's look at the fact now that they're no longer. I mean, they're looking really. They lost to a team that they could potentially be meeting in the first round. This expectation for the Pacers are pretty much, conference finals, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, even finals. Even some people were saying finals.
People would even
because
say
they saying the Heat were getting old and
maybe
there's all that noise.
I don't know that
right?
I would have ever said that, but
I didn't either. But
anyways, their ceiling is very high, right?
Yeah.
So where do you think that stands now? Where did they go?
I think that they
almost
have
to
make
change anything for the Raptors' potential for success. Can the Raptors beat the Pacers in a 7-game series?
Well, that's I was just going to get to that actually. But to answer your first question, if they make the finals, either they win or they lose, I think they're okay in terms of their core. I think no matter what happens, changes will come. I think Larry Bird is too smart to say, "Oh, this will work out." It won't. You can't play this poorly and think things will just work out. You look at the Raptors, how poorly they were playing at the beginning of the season. They look like garbage.
Yeah.
Like, it's painful to watch him play. Now, it's not painful to watch him play. Just from a trade, right? Just one simple trade, and more or less, things change. Everything changed. That kind of will happen with the Pacers, in my opinion, no matter what happens, because this formula, right now, this makeup, you need better guard play. You need more spacing, in my opinion. Yeah. You need, like, they can use a DeColo. They can use a Vasquez. Not that they're great players, but they can use somebody
I don't
know
know that a lot of teams need a Nando DeColo. But
well, I mean, if you saw him play,
yeah,
like, he does stuff that I don't see anybody on the Pacers doing.
Right.
Like, driving and kicking solid, like, you know, and not turning the ball over. Like, I don't know why George Hill can't really do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I just don't think that George Hill is a very...
Evan Turner is not a really good playmaker either.
Yeah.
Like, he should be in theory, but he's not. Lance Stevenson has dropped off, right?
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, they don't really have spacing. They don't have anybody who can really shoot threes.
But
because Paul George isn't the same Paul George anymore.
On one hand,
you know?
you're saying all these terrible things about the Pacers, but on the other hand, we're like, well, they could probably go to the finals, maybe.
Well, this is what I'm thinking, that the Pacers can just wake up.
Right.
Now, I don't believe in that necessarily, but it could happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think, are you fully confident that the Nets beat the Pacers? I'm not.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not fully confident the Bulls beat the Pacers. I'm not. I'm definitely, it's more 50-50 than it was before.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot closer, even the Raptors. Like, it's a lot closer. But let's say the Pacers beat all those teams and do their job, and they take the Heat to 7 games or they beat the Heat. It's hard to say they've had a disappointing season.
Of course,
at that point,
we'll
right?
forget this conversation ever happened.
All right. So,
if that's the case.
So I guess you're asking, what am I predicting? Like, for example, if we face the Pacers, the Raptors face the Pacers.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty confident about that.
Yeah.
Over a 7-game series, I'm feeling pretty confident now. You know what I think of the Raptors, right? I'm waiting for it to happen, for them to break my heart. But objectively speaking, let's go through 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Valanciunas, Hibbert. We know the numbers support Valanciunas, and he's been playing better of late. So, okay, I'll give the edge to Hibbert, but not by as much as I would have a year ago, right? So that's close enough. All of our power forwards versus their power forwards. So Wes Scola combination versus the Johnson Patterson Hansbrough combination. I don't know. It's pretty even to me because I really like what Patrick Patterson could do.
Yeah, I would still probably give the edge to the Pacers
because well, to me, Scola has not played well.
No, he hasn't.
So you could say that, like.
But don't we have to defer to veteran savvy? Don't we have to be like, well, these guys are more proven, and as good as Amir is.
Right. No, I agree. But what about chemistry? Isn't there something to be said about chemistry? Look at the chemistry between the Pacers. They don't look good. You don't lose by 30 points ever to the Hawks.
Right.
If you're a number 2 seed or number 1, they should be number 1, right? They hadn't been losing like, I don't know, 7 of the last 10 games.
Yeah.
They'd still be number 1, more or less. Because it's not like the Heat are winning.
Especially the Heat have been struggling recently as well.
So I mean, chemistry is a big part of a basketball game. So to me, it looks more even than ever before. Just because we have depth. Like, we didn't have Amir Johnson or Kyle Lowry. We're still winning. They have everybody. Who are the Pacers missing? Like a major play. Like, we lost our MVP more or less, right, for the last couple games.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry's our MVP.
Yep.
We're still winning games. Not necessarily convincingly against the Bucks or the Magic or some of these teams, but we did beat the Pacers without Lowry. I just think that the Pacers just don't look so. Okay, so the power forwards are pretty even. Small forwards, I guess Paul George a small forward? Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay, so I would give that to the Pacers, but Terrence Ross, I don't know if you watched him play.
A lot
better.
I was at the game on Friday. Terrence Ross looked great.
He has a lot more.
He played George really, really well.
Right.
And you know what? He's played George really well a couple times this season.
All year.
And you're right. You do have to give the edge to George, but at the same time, Terrence Ross is a real X factor.
Here's the thing with Terrence Ross. He's pretty much an automatic 3 now. When he gets his feet set,
yeah,
he makes it pure, Right. I watched some of his like shooting mechanics and stuff. He's always had a really smooth shot, but now, to me, he's getting his feet set a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And his elevation is so natural. He's making these like nothing but net, right?
Yep.
Now we knew he could do that. We knew he could defend. We knew he's athletic. We knew he could shoot the threes, which is great. But what's taking his game to the next level to me is off the pick and roll, handling the ball.
Yeah, he looks.
He had a couple nice passes and coming off the screen, making some good decisions there, mid-range game even.
Yeah.
So it's again the edge, like it's like the Valanciunas versus Hibbert situation. The edge for Hibbert isn't as big as it used to be. Same with George and Ross, because Ross, all he has to do is lock down for a whole series, lock down on George, and just hit open threes, and then be in transition. Like that's
and
all
George,
you need to
George
focus
hasn't
on.
Proven yet that he's mentally tough enough to handle someone who's going to play him really hard defensively, right?
Right.
And Ross is athletic enough and seems to have enough basketball IQ to say that he is capable potentially of doing that.
Right.
I mean, we'll never know until it actually happens because of the fact that they're still, with the Raptors in general, they're still such a young team.
Right. So that's obviously the big X factor. So edge to Paul George, right?
Yeah.
Shooting guard. Okay, so there's Stevenson and Turner versus DeRozan, and who's our other shooting guard? Salmons, I guess, or Salmon's a small forward, right? So I guess it's a combination of Vasquez, DeColo, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess Salmons, because Salmons is a small forward to me. So I who's our shooting guard, right? Terrence Ross is kind of supposed to be a shooting guard.
Yeah.
So you look at that, like you can even just look at the wings versus their wings. It's pretty even.
Yeah.
Just swing guys, 2 or 3 guys.
So we're saying DeRozan?
So like the DeRozan, Ross, Salmons, maybe Vasquez, DeColo potentially, right?
Yeah.
Because those 2 guys are point guard shooting guards versus their Stevenson, Turner, George. Who's their other small forward? I don't even know. Copeland?
Yeah, I think Copeland.
But not that Copeland gets a ton of minutes though.
No, he doesn't.
Okay, so who has the edge there? Hard to say, right? Because honestly, Paul George doesn't look that much better than DeRozan right now.
It's not.
He doesn't.
It's a matter of timing. I think that might be what it comes down to. If you're asking me who is overall better, I mean, if you just want to take the top 2 and say, all right, well, let's say it's Terrence Ross and DeRozan versus Stevenson and
yeah, then it's
George,
the Pacers,
right?
But the bench comes into play too, right?
It does, but at the same time, the Raptors don't really have depth, which is what the problem is. The fact that I think Vasquez is a good backup point guard. The problem is I don't think he is a good backup shooting guard, and I don't think he's a good starting point guard.
Okay.
He like the reason why he's been doing well on the Raptors is because he's doing exactly the role that we're putting him into. That he does complement, like the reason why he is able to do well when he's playing shooting guard is because of the fact that Lowry is in there in the lineup at the same time. If he's not playing with Lowry, it definitely does not look good, right?
Now what about like a Vasquez DeColo combo?
I'm not sold on DeColo. I'm not believing that this guy that we got for Austin Day is going to actually be able to contribute. Now he's done fine for the job that we've asked him to do. Now, am I going to feel confident in the playoffs when Kyle Lowry has a stinger and in comes Nando DeColo? No way.
Okay,
I'm feeling doom and gloom there.
I'm just thinking. I'm a little bit more confident that there's at least somebody that's a alternative to Vasquez.
Well, here's
because Vasquez will have moments where you're like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
And then I was like, okay, at least we have a DeColo, because who else before we got DeColo, who do we have? We had Dwight Bikes or Julian Stone.
Yeah.
I take DeColo over those 2 guys.
Yeah, I guess, but
it's for sure, because I think there's a lot of stuff you learn on the Spurs.
You're choosing a lot of lesser of evils here. You're just
okay, but it still matters, right? It still matters.
Right.
So it's not about what DeColo can do one-on-one against George Hill or C.J. Watson, but it's about how does he fit into the team. He's 6'5". He can get into the lane. He plays aggressively. Do I trust him? Obviously, I do not trust him. If I trusted him, the Spurs wouldn't have traded him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, They would have traded Corey Joseph, who's a good Canadian kid, but
Yeah.
I mean, they would have traded him. Like, clearly, he couldn't get minutes, right? But I think, look, I saw what he did against, the Pacers, right? And he looks solid for a backup or third string point guard,
Right.
who could substitute as a shooting guard, because at least he can shoot a three.
Right.
DeRozan can't shoot threes
I've-
yet, right?
I've-
Like, at least you can do that. You could do the drive and kick game.
Yeah.
Defensively, okay, you got me.
I'm not willing to buy stock in Nikola.
Okay,
just yet.
Okay,
But-
wings. So the wings, who has the advantage? The Pacers, right?
The wings, we'll say the Pacers have the wings.
So the guards, Colo, Vasquez, Lowry, who's
Yeah.
got the advantage there?
Now,
That's
of
the
all
Raptors,
of these,
to
of
me.
all of these matchups that we're doing, for positional, I
Right.
think that's the greatest. That's probably the greatest gap in terms of the Raptors over the Pacers.
Over the Pacers.
Because really, Kyle Lowry is much better than any guard that they could put in at point guard.
Right.
Yeah, he has an ability to take over a game that no guard on the Pacers have. And he distributes better than anybody on the Pacers.
Okay. So
he's a
big
real
picture.
difference maker.
So
He's-
big picture.
Yeah.
It seems like the Pacers have more edges, individual edges,
Yeah.
than us. However, that's not how this game is played, right?
Of
It's
course.
a whole team, 5-man units.
Of course, you can do
So,
simulation. It
To
doesn't
me,
make
who's got the
difference.
better bench? To me, on paper, the Pacers have the better bench, no question.
Yeah.
But they ain't playing like it. I mean, I'm just going by the games that we've played against the Pacers. We split the season series.
Yeah.
We were really close to beating them, even when we had Rudy Gay. I think that says a lot. Back when the Pacers were the Pacers and rolling over the entire league,
Yeah.
we played them close with Rudy Gay. We were garbage back then. And so I'm looking at it. Paul George has only one decent game against us, and he didn't even win. So
Yeah.
he's averaged, like, I don't know, 70 points against us on like 30-something% shooting.
Yeah, that's awful.
Well, I think that's.
You take it all.
I
take
think
that all
clearly
day.
we
That
have
means we're making
a game
difference.
plan. Hibbert hasn't killed us. David West, we let him get some shots. Scola hasn't killed us. George Hill hasn't killed us. Lance has had his moments, but so overall, if we were to take what we've seen from regular season and going into the postseason, I think our bench is better. It plays better together. Not necessarily individual talent. On paper, no question the Pacers are better. No question. But on the court, it just seems like the Toronto Raptors play more together than the Pacers do. So we have a shot. Do I think we will win? I will never put money on the Raptors in the playoffs. I'll just put it right there.
We're not putting money on the Raptors, but let's say everything goes according to some kind of plan, and the Raptors play. the
I still
Pacers.
think we lose. I still think we lose in like 7 games.
In
or
7
something.
games?
Something
They
like that.
are able to
But
play
at
in
least we
7
take them
games?
to 7 games.
I agree.
At least we take them to 7 games.
I also
Because they
think
got home
that
court
would happen.
advantage, and I think that stuff matters in
Yeah.
the playoffs. And listen, I really want the Raptors to beat everybody.
I
but
think the biggest problem is what you touched on, sort of, is that, and it didn't really work out for the Pacers in terms of getting that depth, but at least they went out and sought out, depth for the playoffs. I mean, when we have to rely on Nando De Colo, when there would seemingly be better options available, that's where I feel like things went wrong. I feel like we should have gone out and gotten somebody who was going to be very reliable to come off our bench for us.
right.
Because the one the only thing that I'll say about depth is the only position I feel like mildly all right about having somewhat depth at is probably at power forward. And
Right.
even then,
Yeah.
Tyler Hansbrough takes gets so many fouls that it's tough. Like, you like his game, but he's always at risk because of how
But
aggressive
this
he
is what I'll say about Hansbrough. He's our third power forward, right? The depth charge. That's my opinion.
Well,
If Johnson's starting, Patterson
Yeah.
comes off. So as your third power forward, you can't get better than Hansbrough as your third power forward, right?
No, but realistically, because of the way the rotation works, like, he is our third power forward, but he also gets center because we don't. Who's our true backup center? You know,
Chuck
what I mean?
Hayes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't
Right?
mind Chuck Hayes as a backup center.
Chuck Hayes is awful.
Like, not defensively. Not defensively.
He's okay, he's not the worst defensively if you give him a job under, straight under the boards. but
There are moments where I think Chuck Hayes is awful too, and then there are moments I'm like,
he's real slow.
no, it's like he's got great hands.
He does have good. That's
He
like-
got great hands.
that's the
He's
only-
stripping big
that's
guys.
The only thing that he has is good hands, because other than that, he's slow and he has no
Right.
lift. Right?
No, but he is thick.
Yeah.
Like, he's way thicker than Jonas. The one thing that I wish Jonas had was more bulk.
Yeah.
Right? He gets pushed around a little too much. And he's still young, right? But
Yeah.
Chuck Hayes doesn't get pushed around.
Okay.
Like, I remember him guarding DeMarcus Cousins. Now, maybe they played together and all that, but he did better than, and did way better than Jonas. He guarded Pekovic way better than Jonas, just because he has that girth.
Fat.
He's strong, right?
Yeah.
Like, Pekovic destroyed Jonas. Chuck Hayes came in, and Pekovic wasn't destroying him anymore.
Right.
You know, that's all I'm saying. Like, some guys that get low post position,
Yeah.
Jonas will give that up. He'll give it up against Hibbert.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Hibbert hasn't played well, so he's been able to get away with it. But he plays DeMarcus Cousins. I'm not confident in Jonas and his
Okay.
ability to defend him.
Yeah.
So Chuck Hayes gives you a little, like, I'm not saying he's great, okay? He's
No,
overpaid. He's
no.
making $7 million.
Yeah.
But I see what he could do, because he does what Kyle Lowry does sometimes. He can't jump. He's
No.
not fast.
No.
But guys, big men, always make mistakes by bringing the ball down low. He strips them.
Yeah.
That's what Lowry does all the time. That's how he gets all his offensive rebounds. Guys bring the rebounds down, and Lowry just waits for them to bring it down and strips them.
Yeah.
And then, like, Chuck Hayes, I've seen him do that a lot of times. I'm like, okay, that's something I don't see Jonas doing, because that's just the veteran know-how, and that will come in handy in the playoffs. Like I said,
So you're giving Chuck Hayes the veteran savvy label.
I'm saying as a backup center versus like him, Hansbrough, or Amir. I don't know if Patterson plays the center, but you know those guys. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Now, do I think we'll beat the Pacers? No, you already know I don't think that.
Mm,
But I think it'll be much more competitive than I ever thought it could be.
Okay, fair enough. I
You
mean,
know.
it just seems to me that they really that these guys are just not that. I feel like there was a little bit maybe of responsibility of trying to do something else, like trying to bring in somebody else. I know you don't
Right.
want to mess up with the chemistry or you know.
Right. I just think that with our bigs, our 5 bigs,
Yeah.
we have versatile way to defend. So a lot of times teams go small. Let's say we had to guard and play like the Warriors and they went small. Well, we got power forwards who can do that. You could put Patterson, and Johnson together. They can guard screen and roll pretty good.
Yeah.
Or you want to go big, you go Jonas and any of the power forwards, you could do fine. Or you need like brute strength and toughness. You could have like Hansbrough and Chuck Hayes out there, and you could do like there's different looks you can
least
give.
athletic front court.
Right, but you could
Yeah.
have like toughness matters to me.
Okay.
Right, so I think that if you're a power forward and you're soft, you're not going to want to get fouled by Chuck Hayes.
Okay,
and,
I'll give
Hansbrough.
Chuck
Something
Hayes
like
the
that.
toughness.
All I'm saying
I'll
is
concede
we
that.
got different looks.
Yeah.
I think these guys, I don't think Chuck Hayes should play more than 10 minutes a game. I don't think Hansbrough should play more than 10 minutes a game. So if these guys are only playing 10 minutes and limited minutes, they're okay. I
But
think they're
here's
okay
the thing, though. I
for
feel
10
like
minutes.
if Tyler Hansbrough had to play more than 10 minutes, that they
Right,
would
that's where, but that's why we have 3
And I
power
don't
forwards.
know if-
but that's
if-
why we have 3 power forwards,
right.
right? Like Johnson, Patterson takes like 36 or 40 of those minutes, and then Hansbrough takes like 8 to 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to play at all, actually.
That's also putting a lot of faith.
He doesn't even have to play at all.
You're putting a lot of faith in Patrick Patterson. And I like Patrick Patterson, but
Well, I like him more than
I just-
Hansbrough. I like him more than Hansbrough.
No, I know. I probably like him more than Hansbrough.
Sometimes I like him more than Amir. He's
He's
got a better shot than Amir. That's no question.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Though Amir's been taking a lot of really interesting jump shots.
Exactly.
As
exactly.
of recent,
Yeah.
really interesting jump
I think
shots.
Amir's a better finisher.
Yeah.
Amir, I don't know. Like to me, like Patterson could be even a better defender.
Maybe.
I mean, Patterson's underrated defensively, in my opinion. That's where his real value is. Because people say he's like a real talker on defense and stuff. Not that Amir isn't, but Patterson is very like plays like a vet. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So I just like our chemistry in that way. And Chuck Hayes is the real talker. Like I've heard many people say like they see like in practice, right, where they say he tells Jonas what to do, and
Yeah.
without Chuck Hayes, Jonas wouldn't have been as good, right? Like even on the court or off the court, you know, because like when you're 21, you don't know stuff.
Yeah.
You just don't know. Chuck Hayes has been in the playoffs. Like all these guys, a lot of these guys have been in the playoffs. Not deep in the playoffs, but Jonas has never been there. DeMar has never been there. Terrence has never been there. So if you're relying on these guys who've never been there, like DeColo's been deep in the playoffs. Maybe he hasn't played. Well, he definitely hasn't played
doesn't
really
play,
that much.
yeah.
But he's been there. He's seen it. Like that's something. That's all I'm saying. So to me, I think that I'm more confident in the way the Raptors are playing than the way the Pacers have been playing. Like, just in terms of expectations.
Mhm.
Like, what I expected from the Raptors and how well they're playing versus what I expect from the Pacers and how well they're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we agree.
And still pick the Pacers in a series against the Raptors though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of style. There's a lot of style involved in the matchups that get set. I feel like they're like, the Bulls would be a really poor matchup for the Pacers. I feel like they would be a team that would beat the Pacers. I feel like the Bulls would be a team that would do really well against us as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I want no part of the Bulls.
Yeah.
And I really pretty much don't want any part of the Nets.
Yeah.
But it's looking like we're playing the Wizards.
Which is okay.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I think we could take the Wizards. Although, again, I'm not putting money on it.
No.
It's the Raptors.
Of course.
Okay, look, we're getting over time, but we'll talk about Durant next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be back.